No student looking for an opportunity in the financial and consulting world can afford to be unknown to case competitions. One's proficiency in the ability to crack such challenges in a timely and efficient manner can alter the journey of one's corporate career.
As such, today we have a veteran in acing case competitions who would be providing tips and tricks to our listeners on how to ace their job interviews.
Welcome to another captivating episode of our series Placement Pulse from S.P.A.R.C. Hansraj. As the placement season dawns upon us, we bring to you another episode of our podcast.
So, get ready to unlock the secrets of securing your dream job as we delve into the intricacies of case competitions, interview strategies, and standing out from the competition.
It is our absolute pleasure today to introduce our esteemed guest. Mr. Sandesh Dholakia is joining us. Uh, Mr. Sandesh Dholakia is joining us, who is a distinguished professional who is making a significant impact in the field of global finance and development.
Prepare to witness the transformative influence as we explore how it empowers heroes to conquer challenges, create thriving communities, and leave an indelible mark on the world. Let's begin for a mind blowing conversation that will leave you in awe of the true superheroes behind every success story.
Throughout our conversation today, we will have the privilege of gaining valuable insights from our distinguished guests and learning from their experiences. Sir, shall we begin?
Yeah, sure.
So, sir, we would begin with the most basic question that what would be the interview preparation strategies for a student appearing for placement?
Okay, first of all, thank you so much for the introduction and taking this initiative to talk about placements, especially from a context of case study perspective. Uh, just looking back 2, 3 years, case study competitions were not talked about a lot. And it was at that time when me, along with some of my friends, started with competitions, and that helped a lot towards my journey. Probably I'll talk more about how it evolved, or if you want, I can give an introduction as of now, and then take the question, whatever is convenient for the team. And so let me know, do you want me to first introduce and give an understanding about my journey, or directly to the questions?
I feel the former would be better.
Okay, perfect. All right, so let me give you a quick understanding of how my journey looked like. I mean, once again, I am also from Hansraj. It started off with an economics honors degree from Hansraj. Uh, Post that, I joined Nomura Investment Strategy, which is a front-end investment consulting group at Gurgaon, and I was primarily working on areas like market entry and helping Japanese clients enter into Indian territories. That was my first stint. It was that period which gave me a core understanding about how corporate work worlds, and how it seems when you work with multi-million clients, solving their problems in the space of consulting. Could be thrown any problem any day. On one day you might be working on FMCG, the next day automation comes up, or probably the other day pharma comes up, or even the next month real estate might come up. So very important to stay up the curve, learn a lot, and then improvise a lot. However, I mean, since starting, I wanted to come at a space where I have some impact to the community, because that's always how I have been born and brought up. So the next phase that I had was with Clinton Foundation. Basically, this is a foundation run by US President Bill Clinton, which works on solving some of the major issues around health. So let's say if currently India is facing a lot of issues in malaria, let's say many millions of people are at risk of getting malaria every day, every year, and that's a very big problem to solve. So what we do is that, how can you bring the tools of economics and policy combined with finances? How can they solve the problems? How do you find the critical areas? How do you strengthen the supply chain? And basically solving problems, but in a contextual sense where you are creating impact. And that was the journey. And now I'm finally at the World Bank Group, which is the largest development finance institution in the world. And currently, I'm in their private sector investment arm, working on impact areas like renewables, electronic vehicles, climate financing, gender, and so on. So the idea is, how do you channelize and mobilize investments at a mass scale globally, and also bring in private capital to solve some of the biggest issues that you are currently going through. So that's a quick understanding of the journey that I have had. Now I'll probably go back to the question that you raised. I mean, how do you prepare for interviews? Was that the question, or could you please repeat? It's better if you could repeat it.
What should be the interview preparation strategy for a student appearing for the placements?
Correct. So I'll give you some highlights about how I had my interview preparation strategies. There are two levels of preparation that you do. First is, what I've seen many students do is that they right away keep doing a lot of mock interviews. That should ideally not be the case. There should be a step zero first to train yourself to gain understanding of the concepts that you are actually going to get thrown in the interviews, right? Be it market entry cases, profitability cases, growth strategy cases. The idea is that first you need to read a lot, understand the nuances of how case solving works, combine it with other skills like HR interview questions, because that's altogether a different thing. And then what you have done in your resume. So there are three level of things that you need to first prepare before you start giving mock interviews. First is who you are. You should know that very clearly, what you have done in your career so far, how it aligns with what you want to do it, what you do want to later on. Second, as I was saying, you need to read a lot and understand things. And third is that you start gaining an understanding through reading a lot of news and contextualize that. And it is at that point then you start giving mock interviews, because unless you have a base on which you can build upon for mock interviews, that's not going to stand for a long time. So foundation building is what I had focused a lot upon, and that is how I started off. On the second part, which is the mock interview, how do you prepare for mock interviews? Ideally, what I suggest is that you have to find a buddy for you who is an accountable person, who takes your interview and you take their interview, so that both of you know your weaknesses and strengths, and you can work together in a much better manner. Because if you think that if you read cases and you're going to get done, that's not the case. Because if when somebody throws questions at point blank, that's altogether a different situation when you have to answer things. So you need to start practicing, start speaking out, start communicating your thoughts in a much structured manner. The only difference between a communication and a normal communication and an interview is that in interviews you have your thoughts, but that's in a structured manner, so that the person which is taking interview can easily understand what you are saying and can make sense out of it without wasting a lot of time. So that is how I had prepared. And once you gain that initial understanding of some mock interviews, then you start giving interviews for companies, and that will probably help you in a better way to prepare for your interviews.
That was extremely insightful, sir. That would go along with helping all of our third years right now preparing for the interviews. We've talked about interviews. Now, regarding interviews only, suppose that one student has performed phenomenally in academics and they were mainly focused on academia and their coursework basically, but they didn't focus much on getting professional experience, be it internships or societies or anything related to that. And there is another student who has a rather average academic record, but they have a good amount of professional experience, whether it be internships, societies, or participation in competitions and other things. So, who would be more likely to be favored in a corporate interview? Like, if someone is aspiring for a financial or consulting role, which candidate would be more preferred?
So first of all, the answer cannot be in binary. Let's be clear about that. It's more about a finer mix of both the things. We don't, I mean, speaking from the perspective of those who take interviews, they don't want the best of, let's say, somebody who has gotten 9.8 and has no soft skills. So let's understand, first of all, that there are two things, right? Hard skills and soft skills. Hard skills are basically those academic skills which you gain over a period of time, understanding about your subject, nuances about how you apply that in your daily life, etc. The second is soft skills, about how you are able to communicate what you have learned, your body language, the way that you manage things, how you work in a team, etc., etc. That's also equally important. What I feel is that academics can never be compromised upon. You need to have a very good range of grades for, I mean, you will come across people saying that, okay, if you, even if you get okayish grades and you are doing good with societies, etc., you will make through. No, you won't. Because understand, everybody today also has a different society name in their curriculum, in their CV. If there is one society, there are 100 other societies. Every student has some other position of responsibility, etc. So grades is the first criteria through which you make for other shortlisting process. It's the how do you say, it's the basic minimum criteria. Unless you have certain amount of grades, you will not move ahead. So that's the first thing. Once you have a good grade, let's say from 8.5 to 9.2 or something like that, or even from 8.3 to 9.2, that is a good grade for you to get shortlisted. About next step, which is where you see people understanding about your CV, what you have done in your curriculum, and then what you have done extracurricular activities. It is at that point where your PORs, which is basically your society responsibilities, or other things like internships, or even other courses that you do to supplement your understanding. Many people do courses like data visualization and learning Excel, Tableau, a lot of other softwares, which is very important these days in corporate. So think about this. This is the first criteria, is grades. Once you have certain amount of grades, then it's about your soft skills. So it's a mix of both the things instead of one supporting over other. So it's not binary. It's a combination of both.
Would participating in multiple case competitions and having a strong understanding in them, despite having a minimal winning ratio in the competitions, impact one's chance of getting selected in the placement?
Correct. So, no, in fact, this will never be the case. Rather, it will increase your chances of converting a lot of opportunities. Because think of any case competition as a new day of learning. For any new competition you will go, you will learn about a newer sector, a newer industry, a newer company, or even a newer concept for that matter. Um so, in my college days and with the team that I went through, uh, we were fortunate enough to win a lot of case competitions from prestigious places like Harvard, World Asian Case Competition, KPMG, Flipkart, Tata, and a lot of other places. However, what people did not emphasize a lot upon was our journey before we started winning. So the first competition I won was probably after losing 15 or 20 odd competitions, but I never see a competition failure as a failure per se. It is actually a success for you for that specific day. You get to learn a new thing. And that comes in at play later on when you are appearing for interviews or case study processes. When you are given a case to solve, when you know about something pre-hand, before you sit for any case study interview, you're always going to have an upper hand for it. And believe me when I say, a lot of case competitions that I did were almost similar to what I was asked at my case interviews, because most of these case competitions are contextualized for what is happening as of now. It won't be something which is historical in some sense. It will always be contextualized to what is happening currently, or current affairs in a financial sense or in an economic sense, and which is exactly the interviewers do also. They will ask you questions about what's happening currently, and once you have an understanding, you have done it before, uh, bingo, that is exactly what you need, and that will help you a lot in converting your chances.
Well, this was quite interesting. Moving on to our next question. Case competitions offer participants a great platform to develop a diverse set of skills and how they apply those skills in real life scenarios. So, what are the relevance of case competitions in real life problems?
Correct. So if you see any case competition per se, there are two ways in which you can learn about things. The first is the static part, and the second is the dynamic part. So when I say static part, this will have core skills. Let's say something like financial skills. You learning about discounting cash flow methods or any other valuation techniques for any case competition that you are going to. And the other part is the dynamic skill part. basically when you talk about things which is happening in that current situation. I'll give you a quick example from the things that have helped me in a case competition and probably how it contextualizes to that situation. In Harvard, what we did was core financial work. However, in some other case competition, like let's say World Asian Case Competition, we worked upon a new company called TSMC. TSMC is a leading semiconductor chip manufacturing company based out of Taiwan. Or for that matter, when we won the Flipkart case challenge, we were working on something called the last mile delivery problem, which spans out of things like climate financing, carbon footprint understanding, and the newer ideas of how the world is moving towards greener ideas. So see, what happens is when I have a core skill, which I did in some competition, and when I understand what is happening in the real world, any interview that I'm going to sit for, if I combine both of these skills, it's very useful for the way that the interviewer is going to perceive about you. So always there are, so yeah, you have to be very cognizant about the skills that you are learning from any competition. And what I say usually is that combine both of these with your regular reading. Reading of newspaper, for that matter, as I was saying before, also is very important. Reading one newspaper, pick anyone which you like. Don't go around a lot of things. What I see these days is people following in shots a lot. See, notifications will never give you the depth of understanding any matter. It's more about, even if let's say out of 10 new things, even if you know three things in a much nuanced manner, or in a sense that gives you can answer anything around the depth of it, that's much better than knowing 10 things very superficially, because it's going to help you nowhere. It's in fact dangerous, because you are going to speak about things which you don't know, and once the interviewer picks it, you are in a situation which is not so good. So depth is what is required a lot, and reading is the only, or listening for that matter. Listen podcast, or listen to good YouTube videos that will help you in understanding and framing and understanding about any topic. So both these hard and soft skills plus your regular reading is how you will be in a better shape to utilize and leverage case competitions.
All right, sir. That was very enlightening. Uh, now, I feel that you've already answered its relevance in the placement process, so we can skim through that. Now, related to case competitions are guesstimate challenges that we see in a lot of job
Hmm.
interviews or placements. So, what are some notable strategies or approaches that could be beneficial to someone who would be handling such guesstimate challenges? And like, if yes, could you provide any examples?
Correct, sure. So see, first of all, once you start growing, you will realize that there cannot be one strategy for anything. Like there is just no one-stop solution for things like guesstimates or case studies, because by definition, they are meant to test your skills in a broader sense. So I also didn't have any one framework per se that I used to follow for every guesstimates. However, I had one mindset which I would rather help, which rather helped me and probably might help others, which is to be very observant. Whatever you are doing, if you start becoming very observant. So let's say I'll give you a couple of examples. If I am talking to you currently through a laptop, if I am observant, I will start thinking about a lot of things, right? Okay, if I am talking with such a laptop and two of you are also probably having a laptop in front of you, how many laptops currently do students have? How many laptops do students of Delhi University have? Or for that matter, how many laptops are there currently in Delhi? Or, change the geography anyway around, play with that numbers. But all of it spans from the point that you are curious, you're observant about what you want to know. So one quick example, I was having a chat before some days with some of my friends who were appearing for UPSC, is that let's say just 1 or 2 weeks before the exam, imagine the quantum of stationery sales which might be increasing. Just think about it. How can you leverage that for your guesstimates? Understand what are the number of applicants or the people who appear for an exam. What would be the average number of pens that they would use? What is usually the type of pen which people use? What are their average price points? And that is how you can get on understanding about, okay, this is the amount of stationery sales a boost in stationery sales, which any company like Reynolds, or for that matter, a lot of pen companies or Parker, etc. I don't think Parker applies here, but Pentonic or any other companies might be increasing because of one event. Or it's about being very curious. If you are flying in an aeroplane, think about it as if how many other passengers would be flying like that, or for that matter, how many people out of one airport might be flying, or even how many aeroplanes might be flying at one point through one airport, etc. So all of it comes to a point that if you are observant, if you start thinking about things in a different manner, that okay, um, if you ate chole bhature today, what would probably be the revenue of that chole bhatura stall, is actually a guesstimate. And I don't think having one framework is ever going to help you build that mindset, because one framework will give you a couple of answers to some questions, but if you're thrown something very different, you will black out in interviews, and that will never help. However, that being said, you should still have some cheat sheets of sort with things like demography, age, income brackets, etc. That helps a lot in broader frameworks when you are coming down from top to down approaches. And bottom to up is always, as I said, is on the basis of observation. So this is how I usually frame my guesstimate skills.
And sir, what could be some resources or some places where one could refine their skills?
See, that is the trouble. There isn't one place where you can go about. As I said, the definition is that it should not be one place through which you can learn things. However, you will find some good MBA colleges producing their annual case books. So, follow case books from places like IIM Ahmedabad, Bangalore, Calcutta, or for that matter, Harvard, Wharton, etc. Uh, but remember to contextualize it with your city, your place, or where you are staying, because this is how your interviewer is going to pose questions to you. And this is exactly what I did. At Cases, we have created this one course, which is a 16 hours training on guesstimates and case solving, which helps you gain that entire crux. Because since there are a lot of resources, you never know which one you are missing out on, or which is the one that you need to go through. So how do you bring that all knowledge at one place? Once again, this will, as I said, my definition is that even this course might not be sufficient, because one stop will never be a solution. However, this will give you an anchor or a benchmark for you to start and build upon things. So at Cases, we have developed such a course, and many of our students across our community. So at this point, we have a community of more than 7,000 people, and a lot of people who actually go and get and enrolled into these courses for them to start preparing for their placements. And in this course, I take my experiences from all of the case competitions that I was talking about. How does the winning PPTs look like? How do you apply your skills? So on and so forth in a real life application manner. So that is how I help others.
All right. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts, sir. This session was really insightful.
We
Uh,
really appreciate you taking the time to join us on the show and sharing your valuable insights with our listeners.
Uh,
so no problem. Anytime. I think it was also a good refresher session of sorts for me to talk with college students. And always, just one thing, keep reaching out to more people. Whenever you think that you probably are lacking on something, reach out to seniors, reach out to people who are in that industry where you want to be. And it's very easy to get help these days, especially through platforms like LinkedIn. So I always say that, in Harry Potter, there is a dialogue which says that help will always be provided at Hogwarts to those who ask for it. Similarly, help will always be provided for those who ask for it and those who deserve it at various platforms. It's just about the right way of reaching out, and that will always be, helpful. So thank you
thank you.
very much.
Thank you so much, sir. It was a pleasure to host you.